Welcome back to My Colorful Life. I'm Liv, and today we're going to be talking about my Gen X childhood. Every Gen Xer has something in common: the latchkey kids, the roller skating rinks, the malls, the being left to our own devices. And growing up as Gen X was definitely different than the way things are now. And I think things have gotten actually a lot easier as far as being a kid. I mean, it comes with obviously its issues, but there's definitely something different about the way that we Gen Xers were raised and the way that Gen Z was raised. And I'm here to share with you my experience growing up. I was born in 1980, so I'm right on the cusp of Gen X, millennial. So there's a little subculture called Zennial, but I still consider myself Gen X. So growing up, Gen X came with a lot of the usual things, latchkey kids and roller skating rinks and drinking out of the garden hose. I think that it's really cool to see now, like, the way that we were raised and the differences and stuff. And back in our day, we were pretty much walking science experiments. Our parents gave birth to us and just set us off on our own until we were, old enough to have grandbabies. But kids nowadays, I think, are born with, when they leave the hospital, they leave with an iPad and a cell phone, guaranteed, on Life 360. That's the difference between when we were growing up in the 80s and the 70s, is that our parents didn't even realize that we existed. They had a little TV commercial that would come on and say, "It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are?" Yeah, out buying Marlboros for me. But I think being a parent is probably easier now. Well, I don't know. I think maybe it might have been easier for boomers because they just left us to our own devices. Speaking of leaving us to our own devices, my siblings and I are very neurospicy, and we grew up creating things and getting into all kinds of shenanigans. I remember that we took my youngest brother and put him in one of those old vinyl suitcases and threw him down the stairs outside of our apartment complex. And then when that wasn't the end of it, of course, we decided to keep him in the suitcase and swing him around like lovers in a field and catapult him like a shot put out into the courtyard. It was ridiculous, but no one got hurt. So, I mean, even if you did get hurt, nobody cared. Like, you just go in the house, get a Band-Aid or whatever, and come out. We were the fancier kids, though. Everybody else was just rubbing dirt in it and calling it good. Now, the thing about Gen X is we were pretty much raised to be adults from the moment we were old enough to walk. Oh, you're old enough to walk? Well, guess what? You're going to be you have a paper out now. Yes, I had a paper out when I was a little kid. I was a babysitter at my early teens. I was an instant mother as soon as my younger brother was born. So my sister and I were pretty much the mothers of the family, and that is definitely different. That made us age older before our time. I mean, even the teenagers on the TV shows were way older than they were supposed to be. Anyways, we definitely had a lot of unique experiences. We had the roller skating rinks, and we did have the arcades where you'd take your whole allowance and cash it in and go and play video games until you ran out of coins. And then when you ran out of coins, you'd go and the other kids would keep playing, and you just watch them play. Or like I did, you go get a nearest stick and turn it into a weapon of some sort. Also, I remember that my younger brother decided that he had one of those styrofoam gliders, the big ones. And he put it together and he threw it up to the roof of our apartment complex, which was the second story, and it smashed into pieces. And instead of just calling it a loss, no. My brother decided to duct tape the wings to his arms and stand on the ground like a giant chicken and freaking flap his arms until he got at least a little bit of air. Now, I know you're saying there's no way he got air. After that, we would build games to where we would force children to sit in chairs that were obviously from a dirtier apartment, and that was the punishment for going against our rules. We kind of ruled the streets. I remember rollerblading through a small town at like midnight, and nobody gave a shit about us. Nobody cared. Nobody was like yelling at us to go home or anything or calling the cops on us. They just were like, oh, that's the local teenagers just rollerblading around. And then we had our bikes, of course. Everybody had bike gangs. Like as children, we had bike gangs where we'd all just gang up together, and there'd be like tons of us, and we would just ride the streets. And we had this subdevelopment. It was a really cool place, and you could just pretty much do whatever you wanted to do, and we would ride the streets from sun up to sundown. And as soon as those street lights came on, you bet your ass be home. And I remember with bikes and all kinds of other things, we would do there was a thing where you would ride your bike without any hands, hands up. And we, of course, we didn't have helmets back then. Nobody wore helmets. You were like, I don't even think they cared about us. They barely had seatbelts back then. But I remember riding my bike with my sister, and we were going down the road, and I decided, my sister was like, look, no hands. I was like, oh yeah, watch this. Look, no hands. And I crashed right into the back of a big old, not minivan, a huge van, and ended up going ass over tea kettle onto the asphalt and dragging my knuckles, and got a couple scars. I don't know if you can see them or not, but yeah, it created huge craters in my hand. And of course, we didn't have all the nice things like Neosporin and all that stuff back then, or if we did, my family didn't have it. My sister decided to pour peroxide into my craters, and as it foamed up, I noticed that the skin underneath was not bloody. It was blue. Well, at first it was white, and then it was blue, and then the blood came, and then the pain came, and I ended up just pouring peroxide on it and going right back out and riding my bike again. Of course, as a Gen X kid, you had that wonky ramp that everybody made out of someone's dad's plywood and a cinder block or something, and you'd sit in the street, and you sit on the sidewalks, and there'd be like a ramp set up in the street, and everybody would be watching this one kid go up the ramp and over it, and we'd all see how high we could get, how much air we could get. That was the craziest thing, is we always had to see how dangerous we could make things. And of course, when a car was driving the opposite direction or coming towards us, we'd all yell car, and then go pick up the ramp and put it on the sidewalk until the car passed, and then we set it right back up again. Everybody sit back down and take your turns riding your bike over the ramp. That was absolutely fun. We definitely had video games stuff. I started off with my father's Atari, and when Christmas came, I think it was 1989, we well, not for Christmas, but after Christmas, we got our first Nintendo. And we would play that thing all day and have to go to church and come home 3 hours later, leave it playing, just turn the TV off, and we would come back and that thing would still be running. Like, you try to do that now and your thing will be busted. So technology was definitely sturdier back then, obviously the Nokias and all that stuff. What else do I remember? I was talking to a friend the other day, and we were talking about, the way that our parents used to leave us at the local convenience store, where they had a couple of Street Fighter games, and they'd hand us a handful of, a couple of dollars, and we'd go get our quarters and we'd play video games all day. And we were talking about we can't do that anymore. And when he said that, I automatically thought of me, as adult me, leaving my kids in the convenience store as I shove all the quarters from my latest paycheck into the machine trying to get my high score. Meanwhile, the children are just walking around wondering what the hell is a tampon. Don't worry about it. And the clerk is obviously looking at us like, what are you doing leaving these kids behind? Whose kids are these? So I thought that was really hilarious that my brain automatically went to, oh, me playing video games. No, he was talking about them playing video games. So that was pretty funny because, yeah, you definitely can't just leave your kids alone at stores anymore. There's so much danger. But being Gen X, we did have the freedom of being the children that were basically science experiments, and now we know better. So we're doing better. And I would like to end my video by inviting you guys to share how your Gen X childhood went. What were some crazy things that you and your siblings got up to? And also remember that I am uploading videos every Monday at 6 p.m. So look forward to my next video next Monday. And it was great seeing you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.